One thing that we had noticed, we went to see Penny's brother in Georgia. We noticed America was different. And every time that I would travel with the islands, on any state that I would go and find Kenyans, I was like, you guys are living well. It's reasonably priced. And, they didn't have to make as much money. So I knew there was a different world out there that I can be able to make a little bit more and then live a comfortable life.
The revelation of the power of this city has hit me. And I've been telling these guys off camera, this is such a powerful story for anybody who wants to leave Kenya and make it. Your story is one of leaving the country and thriving out there. And what you're doing is painting the journey, first of all, that it is possible.
Yeah.
But you're also giving people the blueprint of how it is that you have done it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's such a powerful story because there are very many stories of disappearance, the prodigal son, going there and getting lost. And I myself, as a person who went to the diaspora, just luckily mine was down south, South Africa. Yeah. I was headed in that same direction. It's just that I came back home. Yeah. So I don't speak trying to put people down, but I speak from a place of understanding how people can lose their way. Yeah. But also, your story is it's the stop.
Yes.
It's a blueprint to anybody who wants to understand. Yes. One of the things that you've said, and so already something that has stuck out is, and you keep using this word, what's your differentiator?
Yes.
That's one point.
Yes.
Hey guys, take out your notepads. This one is for writing.
Yes.
So in your space, you're going there, and what was your superhero strength here in this region is absolutely useless in the next.
Yes.
But so in that space, number one, what is your differentiator?
Yes.
Number two, I think you had focus, and in an essence, your son was a blessing.
Yes.
Ken forced you to man up and focus very quickly. And of course, Penny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Penny gave me the grounding because, she would remind me, hey, you got to work hard. You remember what you said you were going to do? Let's focus on this. Hey, let's take a break. Let's take the weekend off and then think about this on Monday.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Having someone who understands you. And there's actually a point where we end up working together at PwC.
Yeah.
Because she knows how tough it is to navigate the environment, she can be able to support you well.
I'm a pioneer, and it is what it is, and I am who I am. If it wasn't for my wife, I would definitely not be sitting here doing this. But having somebody who understands that this guy, unfortunately and fortunately, is always fast in the space, and therefore, by the time people catch on, it may be a few rough patches. You get what I mean? Or it may be a few, that support system.
Yes, and sometimes also just having the faith that you're going the right direction and making the connections with people around you. Just, hey, they don't have to look like me. But you know what? They have a story. Let me listen to that story. Let me listen to 10 different stories. And then from that, I'll see commonality. I'm like, what wins in this environment is X, Y, Z. Okay, so I need to be able to do that as well. So sometimes what happens, you get into a space, there are no people who look like you, but focus on what you want. Find people along the way you can be able to mirror in terms of behavior. I don't tell you I'm mirroring you. I'll just, hang out with you a couple of times, but the way you articulate something, the way you make someone feel comfortable in this seat, makes me feel like, hey, I need to learn how he does this. The way you read the room and you're able to kind of switch the conversation. I'm learning. I wouldn't tell you that, but we'll just end up hanging out a little bit more. Your visionary mindset is something that I'm going to keep learning. Just reminding me of what my path is along the way.
There's this big one, and this one I know is not easy. It's easier to stay where it is that you are. Let me give an example. When I started doing this, I started with musicians, and people love good. Yeah. And as a pioneer, you wake up and you're like, what's that G that I see? And you start walking towards that G. You start walking, and then you see the next day it's O, D, until you're like, woo! And everybody comes and chills with you in that good place. Yeah. And then one day you wake up and you see another G. Yeah. and you're like, I want to go there, but nobody wants you to leave because you're in good. But you walk, and you remember the journey it's taken you to walk from nothing to good.
Yes.
So now you have to walk up and walk alone to a place where all you can see is G.
Yes.
You don't know there's an R, an E, and AT coming.
Yes.
But while you leave that place, nobody wants you to leave.
Yes.
You'd never be here
yes.
if all I did was interview musicians.
Yes.
You get what I mean?
Yes.
And that's where everybody wanted me to stay.
Yes.
I say that because I know the difficulty it takes from by the time you decided to leave Bank of America to go to school, what you were going to do was upskill to increase your value.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes. So in any environment, you had to add value. You have to have an impact. For you to have an impact, you have to have the skill set or what you bring to the table. That's one thing that you get asked in America. What are you going to bring to the table? It's not, hey, no. What's the end result? What are you bringing to the table? And I'm used to answering that question many different ways. So it's always important for you to upskill yourself so that you can continue to add value in any environment that you get into. At that point, I look around and I'm like, I think I can do the job with half the time at Bank of America. It's good environment, you're learning a lot, the dynamics of how things are done, but are you adding value on the next level? There's a guy who came in and he was at Anderson School of Business, which is a UCLA MBA school. He was polished. He did his undergrad in a school called University of Wisconsin. Polished guy. He wasn't that old, but he was the regional head for Bank of America at that point. I was like, I want to be like this guy. What did he do? He did a master's degree. He focused on what he liked to do. So that, to me, was a no-brainer. Let's go polish up our skills a little bit more. Let's work a lot more with Americans in the context of a school environment. Let's learn the creativity that we need to do.
But you see, to get there, first and foremost, around you, what you mentioned before, the people who've been there 17 years, the people who've been there for quite some time. So you are also seeing people who are comfortable. And you're saying, you know what, we can pay our bills, I can flip a few more cars. We won't do badly.
So,
and leaving, let me just add this, leaving to go for that meant leaving this stability.
And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you just have to say, you know what, I want to make myself uncomfortable when I still have good knees and I can jump, I can do other things, because later on in life, you're not going to be able to do that. So it's important for you to ground yourself and say, this is a time that I can take that risk. Early on in your career, you can be able to do that. But the good thing is America also shows you, and even here, people live up to 90s, 100. So I have a long life, and I can be able to make those career moves.
Yes, but those career moves, again, I'm not going to I'm going to show the leap of faith that you took, because I can't even describe it in any way. It's not just you leaving. It's not that you both have a job there. It's not that you don't have responsibilities, aka a child.
One thing that we had noticed, we went to see Penny's brother in Georgia. We noticed America was different. And even every time that I would travel with Anderson, any state that I would go and find Kenyans, I was like, you guys are living well. It's reasonably priced. And, you know, they didn't have to make as much money. So I knew there was a different world out there that I can be able to make a little bit more and then live a comfortable life and just have a different experience altogether. And that's what Ohio did for me.
And let me just add, I don't know how to say this in a way that a Kenyan will understand. America is a continent. Do you get what I mean? It is literally, they're not wrong when they say there's a guy from your country called Chad. In an essence, the distance between Chad and Kenya is shorter than the distance from New York to LA.
New York to LA is about 3,000 miles. Driving would take you maybe straight 4 or 5 days. You know?
On highways, super highways.
Oh, super highways, So it's also, every state is different. The cultures, subcultures that are slightly different. There's unification, everyone is American, very proud to be American. But there's also differences and nuances within state by state. So for me to pack up my bags from the land of milk and honey, Hollywood sign, Beverly Hills, and all that stuff was tough. packed up my bags, but I said, you know what, there's going to be a better life on the other side.
In context,
yes,
it is like moving from Nairobi back to Embu.
Yes, yes, yes.
Just to give guys context.
Yes, actually it's moving from Nairobi to Chuka. So, because this is not, we're not going to Cleveland or Columbus. Columbus is a capital city of Ohio. Cleveland is also another big city, and Cincinnati is also another big city. So you're not moving to a big city. You're not moving from, you're moving to a small town called Toledo, Ohio. Yes.
Okay, 2005, you're out.
Yes. Best experience of my life. So went down. I used to volunteer for an organization called National Association of Black Accountants. So I go in for this conference. At the same time I'm transitioning. I'm like, hey, ENY, Ernst & Young, I'm going to Ohio. Are you interested in my background? They took it. They're like, hey, we need this background in our organization. So I ended up working in Toledo, Ohio, which is about 25 miles from Bowling Green, before I joined Bowling Green for the program. Yes, so I was able to support the family that way. But also it exposed me to a different nuance on how things are done in Ohio, which is the Midwest part of America.
No, explain, what did you feel were the differences?
So LA is a melting pot. People from Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Kenya, Chad, Nigeria. It's a melting pot for Mexico, yes, yes. It's a melting pot, you know, so it's very transient. So people still speak their languages, people still kind of like still watch soccer, you know, that's what they do back home. So it's a little bit different. When you go to the Midwest, it's cultured the American way. What I mean is that Friday night football is a religion out there. When we go to Sunday, on Sunday, everything is shut down. So it feels like a small town Chuka, again, you know, or Gilgil, you know, where things are done this whole traditional way. It's farmland, so a lot of people are farmers there. So there's a lot of hard work and that kind of work ethic that's required for you to survive in a farm. So they're very focused on humanity, less glamour and glitz of what you find in the big cities. Yes.
And what about in terms of the demographic of people? Now this is, howdy boy, how you doing?
Yes. So slightly different. So in Ohio, it's up north. So what happens is that they're less redneck, a little bit more on the racist side, or people who would have tendencies like that, than you'd have somewhere below
the South.
Virginia, the South. But these are hardworking, normal people. Was there a lot of blacks within that area? In the college town, there was a little bit, maybe about 2-3%.
What? 2-3%?
Yes. Everyone else was white from there. So there was very little ethnicity other than white and black.
And exactly, I was going to say the international community there is 0.something%.
Yes. Well, it made up the biggest population of black people. I loved it. So there's a guy called Kefa Otiso. He's actually still a professor there. He had established a community. So we saw someone who looked like us, who was a professor. He was teaching geography at that point.
Nice.
We were like, hey, he's bought a house. He's a professor here. He had brought in a couple of his brother's cousins, and there was a thriving community that was growing.
And let me also ask, the university here doesn't sound like a transit. It sounds like a community university.
Yes.
It sounds like halls of residence, living. I'm not saying the other one didn't have, but it sounds like...
It's a small town centered on the college. Yes. So the college is the one that made the small town. Most of people who worked there, you know, worked in the cafeteria, worked, professors and all of that. So Otiso had been established in that environment. So he brought in a community together.
Nice.
So all of a sudden, life slowed down. The craziness of LA with all this traffic and stuff, it went to a place that was easy and nice, where we connected. So we had barbecue on the summer, and we would all come together, young and old. So there were people who now were coming in straight from Kenya for undergrad, so 17, 18-year-old, and there was us who had been in America for a while.
Nice.
Yes.
So if I was going to ask about the Kenyan community, so here now you begin to, and so Rhodes University in South Africa was a bit similar in terms of the university when holiday comes, that place is a ghost town.
Yes.
Grahamstown.
Yes.
It would be a ghost town because everybody leaves.
Yes.
This sounds slightly similar.
Yes, yes. So it's a ghost town when everyone leaves. I think the school is about 25,000 students. When everyone leaves, town is about maybe 40,000. But usually half of it is gone.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. But there's also a very robust international community. What they were doing is that they were giving international students the opportunity to study for free, for the most part, if you made your grades.
But now you've got a scholarship.
Yes.
Half scholarship.
Yes.
Your wife, Penny, has a full scholarship.
Yes. So she's on her way graduating. Well, I'm still working at ENY, so I'm negotiating a way that I was going to work and go to school at the same time. But I did more school than work in that case. Yes.
Okay. So you are able to pay the rest of
my school, yes.
Your school.
Yes. At that point, I got an opportunity, Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, all of them gave me offers to work. I ended up choosing PwC.
This is after you graduate?
Yes.
Okay, so the graduation, don't run over this.
Yes.
So your formula works.
Yes.
Your upskilling,
yes.
your increasing value on yourself,
yes.
actually works in making you a magnet,
yes.
and opening up different opportunities to work.
Yes, and that was the biggest driver to get into this program. So Caris and Laure, who I knew from main campus, Laure had been in Uongozi, and Caris is a guy who was laughing at me, who was making me feel that I needed to be better, putting me on my feet, had been through this program. And both of them had gotten a job immediately after. So I knew out of the people who were graduating from this, 80% will have jobs. So I knew I was going to be one of us because I had the skills and the background.
How was class, even before we get you graduating? What was it like now going to school? Because you're not spending, it's not one class.
Yes, yes. A
week.
Very focused on group work. Very focused on working together. In America, working in teams is paramount. You need to be able to work with others. So the ability to connect, the interpersonal piece helps a lot. The technical ability and ability to pick up a new skill was paramount. And all of that was tested along the way. So every single assignment was group work.
Wow.
Yes.
This for your MBA, yeah?
For my master's in accounting,
okay,
yes.
Your master's in accounting.
Specializing in information systems.
What
yes.
kind of systems are you specializing in at this time? Give me an example. What's happening in the digital front that's evolving?
So at that point, we were having, social media was kind of beginning to MySpace. Remember MySpace?
You remember highfive.com?
Yes, High Five, yes. Yes, yes.
If you know that, you're old school. Like,
yes,
whoa.
That's the time that we started registering for, Facebook.
Yes.
At that time, because you had to have a college ID to be able to register for Facebook. We had
dude, you are at Facebook.
Yes.
Even before it's gone mass.
Yes.
By the time you have a college ID to log in.
Yes. I was kind of like at the front end because everyone was talking about it. Hey, there's this new social network that doesn't have all these creepy people in MySpace. So hey, you can connect on some of the stuff that you're all interested in as a group of people, and that's why this Gen Z group is really, really powerful because there's loyalty to the group.
Yes.
And it started out with us. We're like, hey, let's all hang out together. We're all talking the same thing. There wasn't like a creepy guy over here trying to hit on little boys or girls.
Yep.
At that point that people were getting in MySpace and other sites. And this was different.
One of the biggest factors of Facebook opening was you being able to reconnect with people who you went to school with.
Yes.
Okay, granted, this one
there
it
was
goes
graduates.com,
mass.
yes.
This one it goes mass, yes.
Yes. Those are graduates.com that a lot of people but their functionality wasn't where it needed to be.
Yes.
I think they were a little bit more static, I would say. They were. Facebook changed. The face was changing, kind of like I would see more stuff. And it was cool. It was actually very cool to be part of it.
Nice.
At that point, Google was opening up. Wikipedia was kind of like coming at the beginning. There were kind of like trial pieces of that.
So when you're doing research, are you using the internet?
Yes.
Like when you're in school?
Yes.
Are you using the internet?
Now at that point, you're in the States, you're in the whatever, everything is wired. You have access to anything that you want from the internet.
I get it.
It was still a little bit of a dump. If you go somewhere, it wouldn't rank as well for you. So you needed to fish and find out some of the information a little bit more.
I get what you mean.
Very, very different from now.
Search engine optimization wasn't the best.
Yes, yes. But we began to buy books on Amazon at that point. So textbooks were a lot cheaper. In the school bookshop, you'd buy a book maybe $170. Online, you'd buy a book maybe for $30 or $40. You'd buy even used books for a lot cheaper with Amazon. So Amazon was beginning to jumpstart and come up. So a lot more things were going to the internet. There was also the proliferation of smartphones.
I was going to ask that.
Yes, there was kind of like the flip phone.
Yep.
At one point, then there was smartphones that were, hey, you can do everything on your phone. You know, so
The Blackberries.
Yes, I had a BlackBerry. Yes, yes. I still remember it was the most creative, the best thing that you'd ever have at the end of a table, and you have a BlackBerry, and then you put it down, and then you pick it up again.
Yep.
Important person. That's a very important person.
Did you ever do pagers?
I didn't do pages.
I
didn't do pages, yes. But there were people who had pages. I just didn't get to that point when I had pager.
Okay.
Yes.
So you get all these offers. Like
Yes.
by the time has Penny graduated before you?
Yes, she's graduated before me.
And gone to work where?
Baby number 2. At that point, baby number 2 comes in. As I'm graduating, my mom now comes in. She was in the States at that point, and she was coming in to see us. She hadn't seen us for a long time. And she was able to help us with daycare for number 2, Shaka.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
this is big.
Yes, because she didn't see me graduating uni, main campus, because I was already here.
And you've also not been home at all.
I haven't been home, yes.
From 2001,
Yes.
a month after September 11th.
Yes, 2006, that's when she came in.
So 5 years later is when you've seen your mom.
Yes.
And
Yes.
major factor,
Yes.
because a lot of mothers are leaving Kenya to go and do this.
Yes.
Or a lot of older senior citizens actually live in Kenya to go and be nannies in a sense.
Yes.
Yes. For different family people.
Yes.
But then I even hear now it's actually a career.
Yes, it's huge help because what happens is that you're not paying the $2,000 that you'd otherwise be paying someone else. At least there's someone who's trusted and is available for you 100% of the time.
Nice.
So it helps a lot. So she helped us for a couple months. Then my mother-in-law also came in and helped us as well.
Wow.
While we were transitioning.
How old is Ken at this time?
Ken was born 2002. That's 2006. About 4.
Wow.
Yes.
It's not too easy to have kids in the States, huh?
They have a good future.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's rough taking care of them along the way.
I mean, what I mean about it
Yes.
is this early years, well,
Yes.
granted they have a good future and
Yes.
opportunities, but
Yes.
it sounds like as compared to what we're used to here.
Yes.
Here mtoto unaweza watch mtoto.
Yes,
You can have
yes, yes.
your 7-year-old who's raising your 3-year-old.
Yes, I've learned to
Child labor.
I've learned to learn the positive from it because it made me very close to my kids. So
Ooh.
we had to bond. Like, hey, it's me and you, buddy. What do you want? I'm hungry. What do you want to eat? I think I want fries. Let's go grab some fries together. So you learn how to bond with your kids a little bit more. So the parenting style where someone else is watching the kids wasn't the case anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
And actually, there's also a lot of stay-at-home dads.
Yes. Yes. And that's why you look at the dynamic, you're like, hey, maybe one of us should stay home and take care of the kids. And that's what Penny did for about 7 years, taking care of the boys. Because there was number 3 at some point. And now we're like, okay, number last. You have to drop them off, pick them up, there are all these different activities, and you want to make sure at least they are challenged in life.
Okay.
Yes.
So when your mom comes, does Penny go back to work, or does Penny go to work, or now she's
Yes, so she graduated and stayed home for maybe a year at that point.
Okay.
When my mom was here, and she started working for PwC, which is when I worked for E&Y, then the next role was in PwC, and I moved to a small town. It's not really small, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, so
Yes.
after you graduate,
Yes,
you move
from Ohio. Yes.
You move to PwC.
Yes.
And this is in a different. So you start working at PwC before Penny.
Almost at the same time.
And in a different state?
No, the same place, same office. How she did more on the tax side, I did more on the IT audit side.
But I heard you say Charlotte.
Charlotte, yes, in a different state. The job was in a different state.
So did you up and move?
Yes, again.
So Ohio.
Ohio, yes, bye.